Gary Michael Hilton is 61 years old. 5 days before this recording, he pleaded guilty to murdering a 24-year-old woman who went hiking with her dog on New Year's Day. This is how the tape opens.
When were you there?
94.
Oh, yeah, I was starting to click and you couldn't be that old. Yeah, the instructor said the hardest thing about jumping a C-119 is getting it up to 1,200 feet. God, you talk about fear. I've never been so afraid in my life that first jump. Never.
Nobody in this room is trying to get a confession. They already have one. Meredith Emerson was 24. She studied French at the University of Georgia from 2001 to 2005, and she was good at it. Good enough that the department gave her its award for excellence in French in her final year. The year before that, she won a scholarship to study abroad. She had lived in the French language community on campus. She had grown up in North Carolina, then Colorado, and had recently moved to Beaufort, northeast of Atlanta. On the 1st of January 2008, she went hiking on Blood Mountain with her dog, a black Labrador called Ella. Ella was found alive 3 days later in a supermarket car park 50 miles away. She was identified by the microchip under her skin and returned to Meredith's family. The Florida Supreme Court, reviewing a later case, put the Georgia facts in one sentence. Hilton took Emerson from Blood Mountain and held her for 4 days before murdering her. Georgia's chief medical examiner found she died of blunt force trauma to the head. He was caught because a man named Stephen Shaw watched him walk behind a convenience store toward the dumpsters, thought it was worth a phone call, and made it. In a bin beside that store, investigators found 3 bloodied fleece tops and a piece of a car seat belt. That is what the plea was built on. In his own words, later in this tape, they had him under kidnapping, it was going to stick, and the evidence was his phrase, a smoking gun. So he traded. He told investigators where her body was, and the death penalty came off the table. He was sentenced to life with parole possible after 30 years. 2 investigators sit with him. Neither introduces himself on tape, so we won't name them. They are not here to break him. There's nothing left to break. The plea is signed, the sentence is agreed. What they want is everything he knows, and the only currency they have left is his willingness to keep talking. Watch what that costs them. For 4.5 hours, they let him lecture, correct them, and hold the floor. Almost every question is short. Almost every answer is not. One number worth carrying. He speaks for 88% of this tape. 9 minutes in, nobody has mentioned why they're here.
I was never in it, but I read stories. And after you're out of it for a while and you got to go back, and then you're real scared at first. So you were one of the few people I've ever run across that got more scared as they went along rather than less scared.
I'll tell you, I just didn't know what to expect that first time, so it was just a wild ride for the first trip through the door. But after that, I got, I guess, used to it, but at the same time, it's something you always think about.
Well, you visualize, everybody visualizes what a parachute drop or a parachute jump would be, and I did too before I made one. And what everyone fails to realize or visualize is the noise.
Yeah. And then the quiet. And the lack of noise.
Yeah, but it's just when the noise and the wind. Most people, when they think of the parachute jumping, they think of just, jumping out, because you see it's not a sound picture. It doesn't have a hawk going, and it doesn't have that C-130 and drop speed of 125 knots, and so you're 135 miles an hour, it's about a Class 3 hurricane. It is. And no one ever visualizes what that hawk is like. They open those jump doors, it pressurizes, every piece of nylon goes waving like that. So what do you want to talk about what?
Well, how old were you when you were in the military?
Just turned 17.
Just turned 17?
Got my first adult arrest. I was 17 in late November, and I got my first adult arrest. And the judge no prostate when I told him I was going in the Army. That's what the Army was like back then. They're doing it to the Army now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they waived before misdemeanor rules. They waived no felony rules. They're going right back to, they may have waived even a high school diploma. They're going right back where they were in the 60s, a bunch of kill-crazy psychos, man.
Cheap painkillers, man, that's what we all were.
Oh, man, I'm telling you, I was in Bravo, a rifle company for a year before I went to Special Weapons, and the great majority of the guys in there were not high school graduates. One enlisted man had some college, he had 2 years of college.
Really?
And he was actually a U.S. that had volunteer airborne and then re-upped and became RA. Yeah, so he was a draftee. He was the one draftee in the company, and he was the one that had any college at all.
He is not being asked these questions. He is choosing them.
It's like Crystal, and this is in Florida, Miami-Dade County, Hialeah. And crystals are like Florida, and you knock to use the bathroom. We were going in the back and stealing food out of the back of it and then throwing it at cars. 17 years old, acting like a child. A gross of eggs, which is only about this big, a dozen eggs, is 144 eggs. You can
do all kinds of stuff with that.
Chocolate custard pie. Just walk out in the. I'm a sociopath, man. I'm like what they call an antisocial. That's the new name for it, an antisocial personality. In my day, it was called a sociopathic character disorder. That's what it was known as.
Really?
Yeah, you just walk out in the middle of a street, stand on the yellow line, 4-lane, like Hialeah Drive, Boulevard. Some people come along, you're standing right there in the middle on the yellow line, center line, and they're looking at you, and you're looking at them, and they're thinking, he's not going to throw that thing in. And then run like hell. Oh, I mean, tons of fun, man. Idle youth, you know what I mean?
Well, Gary, like I said before, the reason we're here to talk to you, you can decide.
Count the words in their questions. How many years were you married to her? Did you break it off? 6 words, 5 words. Then they stop, and he fills the room.
From the military, I understand that you met your first wife in the military. What was her name?
Ursula.
Ursula. Do what now?
Lucy, that's what they call Ursulas in Germany.
And you met her in Germany?
Mm-hmm.
She, how long were you guys married?
Just married in 98 and divorced in 71. I've been going with her since 65. She was 16 when I met her.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the worst mistake I ever made with her, running her off.
Really?
Gorgeous girl. I mean, truly gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, the best body, none finer I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
She had a body so good she'd be at the swimming pool, she'd be going to the ladies' room, and I've walked along behind her and seen a little boy just in trance walk behind her and follow right into the ladies' room. I mean, she was stunning, stunning. Mm-hmm. And not only that, she was a good German housefrau. Her father was a police Hauptmeister, the highest enlisted rank, first sergeant.
That's like a chief, right?
Hauptmeister. He was enlisted, though, not an officer. That would be Hauptmann, that would, I guess. No, Hauptmeister.
Asked whether he ended it, he says, I ran her off. Not we separated, not it ended. He picks the verb that puts him in charge of it, and he picks it without pausing.
So it's a high-paying trade, and it was hard to learn, very demanding and difficult. And, of course, right up a German's alley, because it demanded precision.
Meticulous.
Yeah, that's what it demanded.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just total meticulousness. And patience, and Germans are whatever. Anyway, the point is, she came over, after I married her, I brought her over. She immediately proceeded to get a job, Lindsley Lumber Company. My mother worked there, so that was an end. Got a job with them in the truss company, drawing trusses. They made trusses to order for buildings, and everyone had to be drawn, that kind of thing.
So you actually brought her back to
Yeah, I married her, and after I'd been going with her a couple of years, I married her shortly before I left for the States, so that would put her in line for a visa. So I married her, got her visa working. Back then, visas were damn hard to get. Probably still are for Germans.
Right.
And got her working on her visa, and now she was my spouse, so, bam, she had. And then at that time, I left, went back and stayed briefly with my parents, rented an apartment, or actually it was a guest house on a property on the Biscayne River, 125 a month, sort of catty-cornered across from my mother and stepfather's house. And about 2 or 3 months later,
Notice how little they say. Every few minutes, 3 or 4 words to keep him moving, and every one of those words is a question about a date, a job, a place. Nothing that could be argued with.
private ticket was 40 hours approved.
I'm sorry, did you say you got commercial too?
Yeah.
Rated as, okay.
Oh yeah, commercial with a multi and instrument, and then instrument instructor.
Have you kept up with that, or? Have you,
No, I've never flown since.
oh, okay. You
Yeah.
just got it and just,
Got it, and what got me off of that is that I worked 15 hours a week as a student assistant after college. It was a max allowed. It was in the audio visual department.
right.
At that time, Miami-Dade Junior College North Campus was the largest in the nation, 27,000 students on out of that one campus. Maybe still is. And as a result, the audio visual department wasn't just a bunch of old 16 millimeter projectors. We're talking about production studios, TV, movie production studios, on-staff artists, on-staff announcers. We can make our own slide presentations and everything with our artists. Announcers could narrate them. We had a closed-circuit TV system in '67.
Really?
Yeah, using like the old 1 or 2 inch tape.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I worked for
That matters because arguing is the thing he most wants to do. Ask him about a year and he answers. Suggest a reason and he lectures.
kind of thing. So anyway, I worked as a student assistant for 15 hours a week doing my whole time. When I graduated, they offered me a staff job. Good pay, $3.25 an hour. That's what UPS driver started at then, which is the equivalent of 15 an hour. Now,
So you went
that
to-
was starting. You
So
know.
you went to work there?
Yeah, I worked there for in '70 until late '71, and they fired me. Absenteeism, taking quaaludes.
Really?
Like I said, I ran that girl off. You know why?
Is that about the time you and her split?
Yeah.
Okay.
Within 4 months after we were divorced, I ran her off. I decided, here we got a beautiful girl, made even at that time 25-30% more money than I did even on my good paying staff job. In other words, she made the equivalent of $20 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good grief. Right? Perfect house, squeaky clean, you could eat off the damn floor, meals ready, work to boot, gorgeous girl, and really only wanted to do what I wanted to do. And if I didn't want to do anything, she'd, give
68 to 71. He is precise about it, 37 years later. Watch how often the dates arrive with no hesitation at all.
in their house when they was arrested. They had to add that up. The Macon housewife got 30 years no parole and is serving it right now. Yeah. That's your demonization of drugs right there.
Well, you say you got fired from that job for absenteeism because you were taking quaaludes.
Yeah,
And about the same time you
and
ran off.
barbiturates. Within 3 months, that was 4, maybe 5 months after our divorce was.
So how many years total were you married to her?
From 68, summer of 68 to summer of 71.
Summer of 71, so 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Did you break it off with her, or did?
I ran her off. Oh, you know why I ran her off? I'm telling you all these qualities she had. Well, remember now, this is a cultural revolution. It's really hitting home. By 1970, everyone was in effect doing the 60s. You know what I mean?
Caught up to it?
Yeah, that really hit people in California were doing the 60s in the early 60s. They were taking acid while it was still legal, in 63, 2, 1, down.
Around 40 minutes, he stops answering questions and starts giving lectures. This one is about supervolcanoes.
In paper, everyone's got their particular fold, and they hand each other $1 million in diamonds and shake hands, and that's it. You can't get into it. You gotta be born into it, and it's Jewish. Okay.
What was her name?
Paulette, and her main name is Paulette Goldman.
Paulette Goldman. And she was 4 years older than you?
8.
8 years older than you? Okay.
At any rate, so she was the misfit. They didn't know what to do with her. She was a woman. So they had bought her a house at the edge of Coral Gables, between Coral Gables, Coconut Grove boundary. Again, Coconut Grove at that time was real avant-garde, artsy-fartsy, artist colony.
The Greenwich Village of
Florida.
Florida.
Yeah. All that stuff has probably been torn down now, and big condos probably put on it. Back then it was a village, like Buckhead Village used to be, but only much, much bigger, much bigger. And all kinds of cool, hip people live there. So, and of course, Coral Gables was a very rich place, and this is right on the boundary. So they bought her house, and she was going to the University of Miami, majoring in sociology, and she didn't even manage. She managed to graduate with a bachelor's degree in sociology, but she was a drug dealer, and mainly marijuana, ounce marijuana dealer, and yeah.
Any good anthropologist can tell you we're doomed, he says. Then the magma chamber under Yellowstone, the eruption cycle, the figures. He offers them a television program to look up.
Yeah. Oh, 2 and off were tubes. And then others were called by the colors they were. I think
Reds.
well, there was reds, blues, and yellows, and by the color they were.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised that it's impossible to get hold of a barbiturate these days.
Right.
That I don't know if
Out
they
of
ever.
fashion a little bit, I guess.
I don't. Well, the newer classes of antidepressant and sleeping pills, you know. But back then, that was what people said. Oh, go take a sleeping pill. That's what they were talking about.
Would you classify yourself as a hippie back then, or?
You know, by then, you know what the hippies were. It was just every kind of outlaw street person in the world. You would call it counterculture more than anything, misfits. And the whole country was awash in them. It was just
It was
awash
the
in
in thing
them.
to be though back then. That was the movement kind of.
Yeah, and you know, of course, they themselves were wearing a uniform and doing a style. And the country was just awash in young people. If you're, well, you don't, but in Atlanta in the late 60s and early 70s, they, since it's a regional capital, they had, what is every...
They let him run, not one attempt to steer him back. Whatever they think of this, they have decided that a man who is talking is worth more than a man who is stopped.
Well, I know what it means. This is that a fat fuck behind a keyboard. Right? Got 10 times more powerful than me, and I'm a stud, man. I'm a stud. I can whip ass left and right, and they're more powerful, 10 times more powerful than me. Fat fuck in a keyboard.
Sitting in the cubicle.
Yeah, I learned to type in the 60s in the Army when almost no man could type, unless you're a reporter or writer, but I won't type now. I call it women's work, which shows I never make it on the outside, which is, you know, why I'm sitting here doing life and realizing it's the only place for me. I've said it before, I'll say it again. You could take me to the front door of this jail and say, go forward and say no more. I literally have to turn back around and walk back in here. There's nothing out there for me. And you see what my relationship with society as a whole is. I mean, it's only 5% of the people that have come forward so virulently and vehemently to knock me, but if the other 95% of them silent majority and don't, you know, they're not going to speak up. Oh, I know Gary Hilton. He's a great guy, you know. I know Hannibal Lecter. Yeah, Hannibal, you know, Hannibal the Cannibal Silence. So, you know, I know Hannibal Lecter. He's a great guy. No, they're not going to say a goddamn
You'd
thing.
be surprised people come forward and talk pretty good about you. Actually.
Oh, really? Yeah. And the
40 minutes gone. Still nothing about Meredith Emerson.
Can't ever
You
imagine.
should be the
Wolves are one of the only animal that I know of other than human beings that will run down and run down and run down and run down and go and go and go after another member of their own species to kill it. Okay?
Just for the sake of killing?
No, it's that if they get in their territory, rather than just run them out, if they can, they'll go and go. Other animals, it's just brief contest of strength, more or less. But a wolf pack, if they detect another wolf from outside their pack in their territory, they'll run it and they'll run it and they'll run it and they'll run it. And if they can catch it, they'll kill it. An alpha female, you got your alpha male and alpha females in a pack, the leaders of the pack. Okay, I've heard a wildlife biologists say that they're studying them in They're back in Yellowstone now, so they're really getting good data on those in the last 10 years. I heard a wildlife biologist on video say, you know, an alpha female may get up in the morning and kill her mother and run her sister off. That's how savage and brutal the wolf world is. And that's what dogs can revert back to when they're talking to each other. Humans don't understand that in the dog world or the wolf world, there are no assault and battery laws. So that means
The performance has a shape. He raises a subject, establishes that he knows more about it than anyone in the room, and waits to be contradicted. Nobody contradicts him.
the dog confronts, they want to say, it's okay, he's friendly, you know, and and they know it. I've had people let their dogs confront me and fight, and me fight the dogs, have them call the police on me, and then in the succeeding year have seen that same person and that same dog get in 2 or 3 more incidents of the same. A woman at Stone Mountain had 2 dogs 150 yards from me. I spotted them, and you're at a loss between trying to call, they were loose, and you're kind of conflicted as whether to call her and warn her, or the fact is that as soon as they hear you call, the dogs are coming after you. You don't really know what to do. I called her, I said, yo, we got a dog here, dog under control. Wow, dogs come right at me from a long way away, 150 yards away. Dogs split up. So I'm doing stick work on one, and when they split up, then you're going to have to use pepper if they split up. You're going to have to spray one at one with pepper.
At distance.
Yeah, not necessarily. It's hard to actually disable a dog with pepper, but regardless.
He corrects them on detail he has no reason to care about. Dates, prices, street names, the nightly rate of a motel in the 90s. The precision is the point. It is the one thing in here he still controls.
At least 30 times. I've had them called 5 times in Murphy Candler. I've had them called 3 times at Stone Mountain alone. And that's 8 right there. Okay, at least 30 times. And in every single time that the police were called on me, the police have confirmed that I did not act unlawfully. And there's been a couple of times the police have written me a letter saying that I could press charges if I want. The one time it didn't go my way was not with a police officer. It was with animal control. Animal control are not police officers. And as a matter of fact, they don't know Jay. They're just civilians with a uniform, so they're police officers, the good ones, and most of them are good these days. Police work, of course, has become highly professionalized. And I'm talking to Cab North in particular. The Cab North has seen a lot of me. And police officers are trained to interrogate people and to arrive at the truth. I found that police officers may not be able to tell if you're lying, but if you're telling the truth, they can tell.
And it is being paid for. Every minute they spend on geology is a minute he is in the room and comfortable is the only condition in which this man says anything useful.
Yeah, I mean, I did that one time to a human. The guy just, after we were in the middle of a confrontation, he had a big loose male and et cetera. There was a female and he present. It was a real melee. And so the kid, a nut, this is one of the few times that the guy wasn't bigger than me. Usually if you have a stick and handling yourself well, the guy's always going to be bigger than you. Well, this time the kid wasn't. He was only my size. And he comes right at me from 10 feet away, like boring right in on me. So I gave him a feint, you know, I did like that real quick, just so, and so that what it is, what happens is though the tip of the stick is going right at you and then coming back, so you don't get the traversing motion. You don't get the impression of movement that a traversing motion would. And as a result, it was so quick that he didn't even see it. But the point is that I goofed up and I just touched him right there. And he said, because he didn't even see it, but he felt it, right? He said, I don't believe you did that. I don't believe you did that.
An hour and 40 minutes. He has still not been asked directly about the 1st of January.
Firefighters. That's what it was. You would be working in a FOP phone room, and they would be detectives in there with their guns, and the phone men would be sitting around going, hey, Joe McBride, National Police Officers Association. But also appreciate a little support by get you that sticker there with the badge decal, put it beside your license plate there. I think you know this doesn't give you a license to go 90 miles an hour down the expressway to beat your wife, but I think you understand the police appreciate it. You'd never directly tell them you were a police officer generally. You just imply that you were. Same with the firefighters, same with labor union officials. You know, you'd say AFL-CIO Teamsters. Hey, we're putting together a book for our convention, supporting the kids at the same time, going to have the governor in, want to have a nice book to push across from them. I think you understand that any support you give to organized labor will never hurt you.
Right.
Oh, that's true. It's true. Back when my daddy was getting his head busted on Ford overpass by company goons, yeah. We used to have to throw a bomb once in a while, send the boys over there, turn that place into a parking lot. Those days are long gone.
Listen to where he puts that sentence. It arrives inside a complaint about somebody else, and the complaint is what he actually wants on the record.
My stepmother. And so I
How old were you when she got remarried?
7.
7.
Yeah. And so in Atlanta, I was born here, but it was the one place I hadn't been. Yeah, and so I came here, and and there's a lot of fun jobs here then of that type,
Right.
of that type. JCs, police, all kinds of police organizations.
Mm-hmm. Now you said phone fraud. Did you actually? I mean, were you actually?
The reason I call it,
FOP,
here's the difference between phone fraud then and legal phone work.
Right.
In legal phone work, they took your money that they took from you, and they passed it around and split it amongst a lot of guys. Okay. In phone fraud, I take their money and keep it all myself. Okay. That's the difference. Can you dig it? 2% would go to the cost.
Right.
1 or 2%, literally, 1 or 2% would go to the cost. And then it would be split among the room managers, the telemarketers, the leavers, the sponsor, the promoters. They pay.
He is not confessing. He confessed 5 days ago in a courtroom. What he is doing here is assigning the blame somewhere else.
These charities who's nationally known and everything typically would be 30% to the cause, and if that much. Many of the charities you're being approached to even to this day, police charities and so forth here in Georgia, if you'll read what they're doing, only 2 or 3, well, they have to disclose it to keep themselves legal now, and only 2 or 3% goes to the cause. Even now. But of course that stuff is sold and passe. It's just old-timey and antiquated. People are much more sophisticated in that respect, to say the least, than they were 30 years ago.
What kind of attracted you to getting involved in that?
Oh, it's because you could work fucked up with long hair. It wasn't a job.
Parents wasn't a big deal and all that?
No. And you sit there with a glass of beer or you have your bottle of whiskey in your coat jacket or a wine cooler in a glass. Yeah, you could be fucked up on that stuff. I mean, the promoter would often advertise the job and he would say, habits okay if you can afford them. Or if he was real strict on it, he would say no habits. Okay. And these jobs would be advertised in a billboard publication known as the Amusement Bulletin. And that was the newspaper for outdoor expositions, state fairs.
That is the plea, described by the man who took it. The bin behind the convenience store is why he is serving life instead of waiting to die.
Tribute, this Marine Corps Toys for Tots? They distribute the toys typically. One location would be down there at the old Sears building on Ponthaleah, which is now City Hall, City Hall East. And go down there and look at them distribute those toys. It'll be African Americans pulling up in, I kid you not, African Americans pulling up in Mercedes and Cadillacs, going in there just loading up armfuls of clothes, toys, walking out. That's what it is now. People are hip to that. But back then, an unprivileged child was just a poor white kid who was a good kid. He had just gotten a bad break. His daddy was in the penitentiary, and his mom was a drunk, that kind of thing. And so that's what it was. Oh, and anyway, the point is, we're bringing in a country and western show, hence the connection with the amusement bulletins, because that would be shows, fairs. Sometimes you bring in a circus. You bring a little one-ring circus, put it on in the margin of a shopping center, just like a carnival or something. Bring in a circus for the kids. Children's Christmas shopping tour. You still see for the cops, where they give the child the money and you shop with a cop, you still see that. It was this last Christmas. I saw it, yeah. It would be that. We had asked for $10 in and sponsor a job. I'm sure it's a lot more now. Man.
Every time he drifts toward his own grievances, they let him. Every time he drifts toward method, they slow down and ask him to go back.
Alcohol and these all these central nervous system depressants so addictive is that here you have a person who has a hard time relaxing, who has a hard time partying, you might say, has a hard time being loose, is always anxious, worried. In my case, it was just a high level of what they call existential anxiety, which is the awareness of your future. You know you're going to die. And there's a psychiatric school of thought that says existential anxiety is responsible for most of human neurosis. Yeah. Because we're the only...
That bothered you back then?
Since I was 4 years old, my earliest thoughts were of death and that I was going to die.
Really?
When I was 4 years old, I could place it because of the situation I was in when I thought it. And when I was 4 years old, I can remember looking at my hand and pondering the fact that this hand one day will be a skeleton. Yeah, when I was 4 years old.
What was the situation, if you don't mind that?
No, it was an intellectual thought. It was the awareness of my future being.
Okay.
The humans are the only animal that I know of that really has to cope with it, although it's really hard to tell. But it's a tremendous psychic load. It's the knowledge of the human.
His voice does not change when the subject does.
In the world, standing up there, telling the world that he believes in a ghost story, which is what Jesus, Christ is, and that kind of thing. Talking about Jesus, and that's a ghost story. That is of the supernatural, you know. And here we are, most advanced peoples ever, and we're talking about ghost stories, and they all do it. You see how stupid they are? They're total fucking idiots, but they're just being human beings. You see, they're just being human beings. They're running from their existential anxiety. That's what's responsible for you so busy. Why you're wearing that tie. Why you're devoting yourself to work for the betterment of society. Hey, son, forget it. Look, any good anthropologist can tell you we're doomed, okay? And so can any cosmologist, too. It's just on a larger time scale, that's all. And so can any good geologist can tell you, hey, don't you know the supervolcano under Yellowstone? There's over 70 supervolcanoes. You don't even know what a supervolcano is. Check out pbs.org and get their show on supervolcanoes, and they explain it to you. The supervolcano that is, and guess what?
Keep the timeline in view. The plea was signed on the 30th of January. This is the 4th of February. Everything he says here, he says knowing the sentence is already fixed. Nothing he admits can add to it, and nothing he withholds can reduce it.
Predictable. It's going to happen, but when, we don't know. We know this is going to happen. We know the time scale. Hey, check it out, the Olympic plate up there in the Northwest, okay? In 1967, they had a super earthquake in Alaska, over 9 points on the Richter scale. It's only the third one ever known to human beings. And in this case, they were able to observe the effects. Relatively few people were killed because at that time Alaska was sparsely populated. Yeah, but geologists had an idea of what a mega, over 0.9 earthquake would do, geologically speaking. But they were only theories. And they were able to study the effects of this and confirm it. And they have found that the Olympic plate has, in the last 20,000 years, has shook itself out with a plus 0.9 earthquake 18 times. Okay, and not only have they confirmed it, they by studying earthquake.
Which is exactly why they are being patient. He has no legal reason left to lie, and no legal reason to cooperate either. The only thing keeping him talking is that he is enjoying it.
Christmas Day.
500 years ago, right?
Well, we got a little while ways to go. We're in the zone, though. It was Christmas Day, 1700. Or 1699, 1700 to 1699. Oh, yeah, we dated precisely. Not only that, geologically we've dated. Well, we can dig up the redwoods that were buried in the tsunami tidal wave now. And of course they're dated, and now that we know what we're looking for, and that in fact is what happened. Okay. Hey, I don't tell you about Rainier. Hey, you got to go see Mount St. Helens. That's the most awesome sight you have ever seen, okay? They say it was equivalent to 400 atom bombs. You'll believe it when you see that. I've hiked up right into the blast zone, actually, to where the road ends, and right up there where the blast came right out, where you see it.
How close to the earthquake? I remember to when the volcano blew. Were you up there?
Oh, that was in '95. So I
So
was.
the trees had almost grown back by then.
No.
They hadn't?
No.
In '95?
15 years after. No.
Holy
It
cow.
still looked like the moon. You were still now, you were just still now then seeing a few sprigs. Those places are deserts, man, to begin with. All of out west, unless you're... Okay, what...
And they have a second case sitting behind this one. 2 months before Meredith Emerson, a woman disappeared in Florida. He has not been charged with that yet.
It's just rotten. It's just really mud and rocks glued together with ice, frozen ice. All that has to do is be heated. And you'll have these huge lahars. They're called lahars. The mud flows. That mud flow that killed 50,000 people down in South America about 15 years ago. You remember that little girl was trapped in it and they tried to get her out.
Guatemala or Venezuela?
God, I can't remember.
You're obviously well traveled. You've been to several places.
Anyway, the point is, listen. But again, I'm not judging you because I understand. You're doing the best you can to handle your psychic load. You're doing the...
Well, it couldn't have been that much for you, because after a while, didn't you get kind of a... I know you had a Camaro for a little bit, so... That was in the... Was that in the 70s?
1980. I got
80,
a brand new Camaro.
Was it Smokey and the Bandit type, or...?
It looked like it, although it's just a six-cylinder, but it's a California Camaro in the Van Nuys, California assembly plants. White, clean, black, no...
What made the move? What'd you do to get that? Just out of curiosity. Were you still working in marketing, or...?
Well, no, I started fraudulent telephone solicitation in, I had a couple.
He is describing a set of rules, not remorse, not explanation, operating conditions.
You know, I met and courted her and married her drunk. And the day we got married, I quit, bad mistake. We only stayed married 6 months.
What was her name? Do you remember her?
Yeah, Yvonne Baugh was her name. Oh, her real name, her whole name was Donna Yvonne Baugh, but she went by...
Diana?
Dinah.
Dinah?
Dinah, like Dinah.
And Bob?
Yvonne with a Y.
Okay.
Yvonne Baugh.
Is she still around, or is she...
I haven't seen her for decades, over 20 years. I ran into her on Highlands 20 years ago. I was running, down the street, and I ran into her. And I just said a few words, hi, how you doing? And I said, you working? And what I mean is, did she have a job?
Right.
But in retrospect, and she said, and looking back on it, I realized how really she took that question to mean, and
Right.
she said yes.
So she was still prosecuted?
Yeah, and I said, well, see ya. And I didn't know what else to say to her.
Right.
The poor thing, I just felt so, she didn't have a chance in the world, that poor girl.
He uses her name the way you would use a date on a calendar.
Gold something, but don't they all have Goldstein, Gold
Right.
Bar, Gold, whatever.
You married again in '79, didn't you?
Yeah, and in '79 again I was married for 6 months.
So you were only married to Dinah for how long?
6 months. We were divorced in about March, April of '78. And then I married the police officer, Sue. That's Stone Mountain Police Department. And by the way, she was grandfathered in, so she was, in other words, she was a police officer before post.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Okay, so she was not a post-certified officer, although the department, well, then the law had been passed.
Right.
Everyone had to be post to be a blue light police officer.
Right.
But she had started before them, so she was grandfathered in. And at the time I was going with her, or married to her, she was not post-certified. However, she was a blue light police officer.
And you had met her there in the park?
Yeah, I was running there every day, and I was really good, looking good, and in great shape. And after we were divorced in late '79, I started taking pills again. And the rationale was, hey, I'm not drinking, but I'll just take every pill I can get.
And there's the answer to why he was caught. By his own account, he broke his own rules because he was running out of food and money.
I'd woken up after a night of doing those things, walked out to my Camaro, seen that I had my spare running, looked into the trunk and seen my original tire was totally shredded, totally to pieces. And then a couple of hours, have a guy from the I lived in Stone Mountain, have a guy from Noonday Baptist Church at Highway 5 and 92 at Woodstock call me and tell me he found my wallet in the church parking lot. Okay, I had no business up in Woodstock, number one. I had a shredded tire and no remembrance at all of changing it out and putting the spare up. And a guy has found my wallet in a Noonday Baptist Church in Woodstock, 50 miles away. And you can only think of God only knows what happened that night and how many people I ran over or what, that tire was shredded so much it was like, God, hit a curve at 100 miles an hour. And it was wild. It was wild. Yeah, those were wicked, totally wicked. And so
you started doing this while you were married to Sue?
No. I wouldn't take a pill or nothing while I was married. I was in my rebirth. When you start running, you see I had a lot of strength. That show.
He chose the busiest trail on purpose and then explains the elevation gain like a man reading off a map.
Highly subjective in that you can do it because everyone else is doing it. That proves that how subjective fatigue is. That's what I learned about fatigue in the Army. That was able to carry me through all my athletic endeavors, all through my life. The incredible stuff that I've done in the 90s as far as powering 30-mile trips, and carrying heavy weights, climbing 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 vertical feet in a trip over 30 miles, just doing stuff that people are really impressed by, that know what it means. But see, my secret weapon is that I knew that fatigue was highly subjective, and that it can, in other words, what by subjective, I mean your response to fatigue is highly dependent on states of mind, of your state of mind. And I learned that in the Army. I learned that because in the Army I saw that I could do stuff that astonished myself and everyone else astonished themselves. And the reason we did it is because we did it together, and he could do it. That's an airborne song, if I can do it, you can do it. If he can do it, you can do it, and, up the hill, around, that kind of thing. So I learned that in the Army. So I was able to start running in 1978. And
Listen to what just went past. In the middle of a lecture about prehistoric populations, in the same breath and the same tone, he says it again.
300,000 now. This is in 78. It's 2 or 3 times the money was. And so that was enough, And so, she got me married and went out and found the house. Got a good deal on it, too. Bought a house across from the school in Decatur, Hollywood Drive. Bought that house. It had been sitting empty. I happen to know the guy that owned it because he lived in the same apartment complex I lived in before I married her. And bought that house for $35,000 then. And this was in 79, and that's just when those big real estate inflations hit then. That inflation of the late 70s, finally the President, Carter, had to put a cap on...
That's back when they had 13% on your house and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. But the inflation rates were so... Even going back to Gerald Ford, he had the WHIP Inflation Now program. Anyway, those inflations of the late 70s was the best thing that ever happened to the middle class, because that meant in 5 years, their home would double because just of inflation, the price. And you may say, well, inflation, the money's only worth half as much. Well, yes.
There is no shift before it and no pause after it. The sentence about killing sits in the paragraph like any other clause.
The for sale by owner. Now there's a lot of for sale, but the for sale by owner, yeah. So he was buying it for people in California.
So you guys had a
We made $10,000 off that house in 6 months.
A friendly breakup, though. I mean,
Oh yeah.
It wasn't not.
Yeah, it was. Oh no.
Okay.
Oh no. I've always been fair to my ex-wives. And oh no, she didn't. No, when I bought that house, I bought it in my name, but she was my wife, and she came to the closing of the house, and so I bought it in my name, VA. And at the closing, I said, Sue, do you want half that house? And she said, yeah.
Watch the shape of their questions here. They never accuse. They ask him to repeat something he has already said, and then they wait. and the waiting is doing more work than any question would.
Yeah, whatever it is, it's multiples. And yeah, I can remember a good example. I had a season pass for Six Flags in the summer of '78, and I told someone, I'm going to Six Flags tonight, and they said, oh, who are you going with? Well, I wouldn't go with anyone. I just had a season pass. I'd go out there, and it's a summer evenings, long evenings. I'd just go and people watch, ride rides, do what I wanted to. It was always awkward, a single person getting on a ride. You know, it had 2 seats. But hey, there'd be some other idiot there. Oh, they'd put me with him. And I had a great time. I saw all these people and the colors and sights and sounds at Six Flags. Yeah. It was great. Summer evenings and everything. And I said, no one, I'm going alone. They go, oh, bummer, you know. But that's the attitude of society. I mean, when's the last time you went to a movie alone? Okay? Okay, never. Okay? You'd be afraid to. Okay? You'd think people would think you were odd. People are enculturated and programmed to only believe that life is valid if they're doing it with others. So the problem with these poor loners, these sociopaths, is they're so programmed.
It is worth saying plainly what this is not. Nobody is trying to catch him out. There is nothing left to catch. Every question in this room is a question about detail, because detail is the only thing still missing.
Yeah. See, you know, but I didn't understand myself until 21. Actually, when I got a dog, and all of a sudden I was no longer alone, and I didn't have that wrenching sense of loneliness and being alone, but yet there would be no salvation in the company of others. You're alone, your life is empty, alone, lonely, but there's no salvation or satisfaction in the company of others. It's a terrible, I see many, those are the worst kind of people. They're tragically unhappy.
And so to the restroom real quick. I had too much coffee myself.
Hey, give me another cup if there's any left.
You want another one there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what was it like being with kids, and then, you know,
okay, now, that's the answer to
I'm
your
kind of
question. I was trying to be normal.
I'm kind of an apartment guy myself, you know, and then
you're not married?
No.
Oh.
Then you go from you know, your own time, your own thing, to living with, were they boys, girls?
Yeah, a boy and a girl, and both.
Yeah. And his account is not the court's account. Where they differ, and they do, the findings made under oath are the ones that stand.
Everything.
When was this?
This was in 79.
You got busted in 79, or?
Yeah, at the end of 79. Right after our divorces.
Did you get any time for it, or?
Oh no, it was a misdemeanor. Fraudulent telephone solicitation.
But they didn't give you any of your funds back, or your office?
Oh, man, they did all this work on it, including running an undercover officer through the operation. They ran a black female juvenile officer, police officer, through the operation, had her come get a job, work a day there. And then when they came for the arrest, they showed up with crime scene vans with their own boxes.
Now, were you married at the time?
No, we had been divorced just a week or two or a month or whatever. I think our divorce was final in about October the 20th.
How'd that divorce go? Was it kind of, well, with any of you, was it more an amicable thing, like you both decided, or was it?
Yeah, no, it was.
Did you call it quits with her, or did?
Well, yeah, I had, and then she had. She had enough too. I mean, you know. Oh, well, she had been shopping it out by then, and she already had the next guy lined up.
Oh, did she?
Oh, yeah.
How did you react to that?
Of everything on this tape, that is the thing that raises his voice, not the killing, being called a tough guy.
Typically the chick, because she's the one that's got the pussy and can fuck anytime she wants. Sooner or later, it comes around to all the people I've fucked. It always ends up that way. Don't you know that? Yeah, sure. Anytime you have a relationship, you can go on with someone that sooner or later is who else have you fucked, and almost invariably, at least with the chicks I go with, they want to tell you, you know. And the reason why,
obviously, I missed out on an important part of the conversation.
I mean, and the reason why is that you see, and there's a fine distinction, for women to threaten to give it away, that pussy, I mean, and for them to let you know that they could give it away, and they have given it away, increases the value of it. However,
it's marketing.
But a sophisticated woman understands that to threaten to give it away increases the value, and actually giving it away to someone else decreases the value. And some women aren't smart enough to know the difference, and they fuck up that way.
Was that Sue, or?
They all do that. They all do that. You know how they do it? You know, the nice girls do. Are you married?
Yeah.
Okay. The nice girls, you know how they do it? They say, either you marry me,
He is careful about the wording, too. If I make an unlawful threat, he says, I cover them up legally. 4 hours in, he is still managing his exposure.
9-year-old boys have said to the little girls, oh, you know, I would like you to get your toy tea set out, and let's have a tea, and let's get our dollies here, and have tea with our dolly. You've never seen a boy do that. But that's what a woman wants you to do as an adult, is to play house, okay, and to have children. How many 9-year-old boys, now, don't get me wrong, I understand that for many men, having children is the greatest thing in their life, but nevertheless, how many 9-year-old boys have you known that have said, oh, you know, I don't want to be a soldier or a pilot or an astronaut, I want to grow up and have a family. Bullshit, okay? That's not what men are about. Okay, but in the end, puberty happens, the hormones rise, we start getting led around by our days.
You get that tax break, all
and
that stuff.
in the end, we become women. You look at any married couple, virtually. When I say any, that's a big word, but, you know, virtually any married couple, especially the older ones. And what you have is not a man and a woman. You have two women. And
then, again, I killed the girl. And the girl wasn't. She was alive, followed immediately by what somebody else should have done about it.
To a nice. Look at those damn Muslims we're fighting. Man, they sit against a damn mud wall on their damn ass, eating fucking shit with their hands, and there ain't no pictures on the wall because they can't have pictures. It's forbidden to you know, by a Muslim to. And they're tough as fucking nails. They're thin, they're wiry. They eat a handful of mud every day and they shit once a week. They sit on the fucking floor. Oh man, and here our so-called men, they go home to cushy and everything's nicey and it's all got the woman's touch and everything. There's two women there. You look at any man's home. You look at any man's, I'll ask you a question in a minute. You may look at any man's home. It ain't a man's home. It's a woman's home. And what is this man thing? Having a nice lawn. Oh, Jesus Christ, give me a fucking break. Out there cutting grass and digging in the dirt like a fucking animal.
All your travels and camping and stuff, you get by yourself, you get a lot of time to think. And
that's the thing.
That is the pattern the whole tape runs on. He never withholds the act. He only ever relocates the responsibility for it.
Two 1-hour shows called The Persuaders on Advertising. An academic saying, in other words, this is academic thought, not orthodox academic thought. He says, the goal of advertisers has always been not only to suffuse the atmosphere, but to be the atmosphere, and to leave us no way out of or around the world they have created for us. That's orthodox academic thought. If you studied advertising and got a degree in it, that's what you would learn. That the goal is to be the atmosphere and to leave us no way out of or around the world they've created for us. And they succeeded. You are so in this matrix of culture, you don't even know it. Sociologists as early as the late 70s, and certainly by 1982, were dealing with the concept of virtual reality, of hyper-reality, and the fact that we are so divorced because of all these distractions that we have entered, because of this truly artificial world and environment of thought that we built around us, that we can't know what's real and we shouldn't even try. And you can't. And so you don't. You're just too busy distracted. You don't even know.
Meredith Emerson has now been dead for 5 weeks. She has been mentioned in this room roughly as often as the supervolcano.
Is two opposing pairs. You have the rational, intellectual soldier and the scientist, the coldly rational soldier, the Yeah, and the coldly irrational scientist. The scientist, if it can't be demonstrated, it doesn't exist. It's only a theory. You know, you got to show me the facts in science, okay? So those two are the coldly rational ones. The artist and the philosopher are interested more in the textures and the why and wherefores behind it, you see.
So you're having the balance between the two.
I have all those there, and it's not as complex as it sounds. If you if you're aware that I'm a soldier, a scientist, an artist, and a philosopher, if you're aware of that, then I'm a very simple person. Even though I may seem to be a startling juxtaposition of,
what's your artistic side? What do you mean by artist?
Well, by artist, I mean truly in the sense of being an artist, in that you see everything in terms of not the linear, but the impression of it,
right,
and so forth. And as far as the medium goes, I'm an artist that
Set his version beside what the courts later found. He says she was alive in the van and could have been recovered. The Florida Supreme Court's account is that he took her from Blood Mountain and held her 4 days before killing her. Both can be true. Only one of them is a finding.
compression bandage in case he slices his leg open or you knock a thing in there. If you don't have a compression bandage, and you do something like this, okay, it'll bleed. As you're walking, it'll bleed. It won't stop. It'll fill your shoe or boot up with blood if you don't have a compression bandage. So, and I present this fantastical spectacle to people, but I understand they can't understand it because it's so fantastical. It's kind of like the Lone Ranger. And the Lone Ranger would come galloping into town. There would be all the schmuck townspeople, right? And here the Lone Ranger would be wearing this mask, a skin-tight outfit, a really elaborate two-gun rig mounted with silver with chrome pistols, and just a theatrical outfit. He'd be mounted on this beautiful Palomino. He'd have this trippy Indian named Tonto with him. You know what I'm talking about? And if the Lone Ranger would ride out again, what would they always say about the Lone Ranger? You don't remember. They would always say...
And notice what he never once does across 4.5 hours. He does not ask what happens to him now. He does not ask about the Florida case, which is coming. He asks about who said what about him.
That's my standard. I finally realized what I was doing.
Is it?
I'm doing this day after day. And I finally realized it about...
Doing these combat patrols where you got to stay alert all the time.
Well, it's not, combat patrols, and that's it, and land navigation. It's exactly it.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I go out walking my dog...
Currently?
Yeah, every time I go out walking my dog, I'm like a police officer. I understand that there's a significant chance that before I come home, I'm going to be fighting for my life.
Right.
Every time I walk my dog anywhere.
Right.
You know why? Because go and take a 7-mile run through neighborhoods. You'll see, hear 1 million dogs barking. Well, all it takes is one gate left open, one door left open. I got a Rottweiler this big. One time, I'd run a route for over 10 years, and I never knew the dog was there. And I'm passing by a house, and I hear a guy go yelling, "Bad dog! Bad dog! Bad dog!" And I look, and that was his dog's name. It was a big-ass Rottweiler coming for me. He had gotten loose out of the house, and that was the dog's name, Bad Dog. I mean, that's the way it is, man. You know, it's like police work. You know, I mean, 90 minutes of boredom and 10 minutes of utter, pucker up shit, man. Right? And you move.
3 weeks after this recording, a grand jury in Leon County indicts him for the murder of Cheryl Dunlap. Everything he has said in this room will be available to that prosecution.
Oh, man, he's got an 80-gallon gas tank. Whoa. And that's what I was doing with the truck, with the dog. I'd get in the truck or a vehicle, move, get out, get my shit together, run a patrol, come back, eat, sleep, move, get out, get my shit together, run a patrol. And I finally realized that I was just on perpetual field maneuvers. And I said, well, it ain't much of a life, but hell, it's a life.
Well, when you throw that stuff out like that, I'm trying to figure out. You call it artistry or whatever. Is it?
Well, you're not calling it insanity.
No. I'm not saying that.
No, you're not.
I don't think you're insane by no stretch of the
imagination. No.
What I'm getting at is it almost like a little acting on your behalf to, I don't know, kind of steer this law enforcement officer away from you, or?
Well, with him, no. I was being perfectly candid with him. I steered him away from me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to figure out what, you know.
And I got
Which is the last thing worth understanding about the men sitting opposite him. They are not solving this case. They are building the next one.
Chattahoochee National Forest, Monongahela National, every national forest. Not only that, I have multiples of many of them. Because you lose a map and you only have one map. I've done it. It screws you up. It's hard to get another one too.
Well, in the interest of time, if you don't care, let's go back to, where did we get up to? The early 80s?
About 1980.
Early 80s?
Right after the divorce.
You were still in Atlanta at that time, and you were back?
Yeah. And when I got busted, I had to go straight for 6 months. I got a job.
What did you get arrested for?
Fraudulent telephone solicitation. It was a misdemeanor then, though. Now it's a felony.
What type of telephone fraud were you doing at that point?
Well, the usual. Georgia Veterans Journal, Georgia Inspectors Journal,
Right.
Southeast Regional Council, Georgia Youth Support Project. You know, back then the BBB had a list of charities that were not approved for giving. They didn't say disapproved. They just said not approved for giving. Don't meet their guidelines or wouldn't respond is what it was. They were on one sheet and it was just tiny little type. So you had like 3-4 columns. So you had like probably 300 charities on this one sheet, 250 charities. Or
4.5 hours, and nothing in his voice moves. Not when he says her name, not when he says what he did.
before he got married.
Right.
And he got married in late 97.
Right.
And he wouldn't let me go in for a while, but he did. He needed me too bad. I left him in early 97 and stayed gone several months, and he needed me real bad, so he let me move in. By the way, you can tell that I'm the one that killed the girl, okay? I'm the one that killed her, but the reason she's dead, I want you to tell this. The reason she's dead, now I killed her, okay?
Right.
But the reason she's dead is that when I called him on Wednesday, I guess, or Thursday, yeah, Thursday,
Mm-hmm.
or whenever.
Thursday.
When I called him, that girl was alive.
Mm-hmm.
She was in my van.
Yeah.
She's in the parking lot, that whole house. And it's just like when I gave the girl's body up when I realized that I had been caught fair and square.
Right.
That's what I told you, because they had me under kidnapping, and it was going to stick. The evidence was good, right out of the dumpster. It was just a smoking gun. They had me. And on the kidnapping charge, it's the same as a life sentence for me. It's either 30 years for first degree or life with bodily harm. So I was getting a life sentence, and they had that. And so there was no real use in keeping the girl's body except not to be charged with murder and everything. And I did it. And I was...
This is the part that stays with you. He is perfectly comfortable.
The same thing applied at that time. The girl was alive.
Mm-hmm.
And if it hadn't been such a little smart ass, he's such a girl. These yuppies are all, we got a little nation of tattletales here. These guys are such, he is a bisexual. Yeah. Yeah. He works the big, that huge Transport City parking lot, truck stop in Douglas County. These are cities within themselves, 500 trucks. They got it's a small metropolis of truckers. They got stores all for truck. Yeah, he goes and works that. He works restrooms. Yeah. I'm hip to that kind of stuff. And yeah, he is. But at any rate, if instead of trying to trap me, I called and I asked him. I told him I needed money. I hadn't gotten any money off her. I had gotten a dime. I had spent money on her. I had $45 to my name, and I'd done spent $30 of it driving all over North Georgia trying to work her ATM card on the bogus number she gave me. I've lost money on that deal, And so Tabor has to be coy and, carry it all the way, ask for $800. Well, I don't know if I can give you that. I said, well, give him a bit, blah, blah, blah. Well, okay, I'll leave you a check. Yeah, he's such a damn girl, just a smart ass yuppie. Trust me. Tell him this. If he hadn't been trying to entrap me, he wanted, come and get it at the office. He was just setting a trap for me. He's the one that called him to begin with. He had already seen that on TV and called him and said it was me. He's the one that the person that turned me in, apparently. Although I don't worry about that, because if it wasn't, it would have been someone else within a couple of days. There's too many law enforcement officers in North Georgia, Forest Service officers that know I carry a bat, an expanding bat, that are very familiar with me, including the people out of Union County there, and you know, and all the WMAs. I had plenty of encounters. Anyway, if I had said, instead of trying to entrap me, I mean, what's the use of that? I mean, really, I got that, and I was on the front page. Well, I saw that article like 2 hours after I killed him. Right. If I had bought a paper that morning on Friday instead of that afternoon, she would have been alive. Because my picture's on the front page, a color picture on the front page of the AJC, looking for me and everything. I wouldn't have killed her. I mean, for Pete's sake, no. And the same holds true with I just said, instead of trying to be a smart ass and lay a trap for me. See, he's got to carry it all. These people are such women. That's what women are always doing. The dogs are running loose. I spray their dog. What do? They call the police. Okay. The police come and say he's got a right to defend himself. Your dog. You know, anytime a woman or a person says to a police officer, start a story with, well, my dog was running loose. Well, they're already wrong. Right there. They're in violation right there. You know what I'm talking about? They're wrong, and the police officer. Anyway, if just said, hey, Gary, that hiker, because she wasn't in the paper. I bought a paper there. I just bought a paper in the gas station before I went there and looked in the paper. They didn't have a payphone at the gas station I bought the paper at, so I went across to the Huddle House to use the phone. I was within looking distance of where I bought the paper. I'd already looked in the paper. I showed her the paper. I said, they haven't even reported you missing yet. You're not even in the paper, right? Of course I knew it. You either kill them or you get caught, okay? But if you're already caught, there's no use in killing him. I didn't kill him because for any satisfaction. It was distasteful. It was dreadful. Trust me, it was. Of course, I was able to do it because of my general rage against society. Of course. It's because I'd become, well, you get that way in Atlanta. Let me I think we talked a little bit about that. You know, you get that way.
Smog and traffic.
And people. The people are just, the new aristocracy, they act like they're fucking royalty. You know, they're idiots. And
I guess kind of part of that then, somewhat.
Kind of part of that, but a little more, I was saying that when it comes to individual human beings, the answer is really simple. I simplify groups of human beings, and you really have to, actually, to preserve your scalp, for that matter. You have to make broad judgments about groups of human beings, but always understanding that individual human beings, the answer is rarely simple. It rarely is. And so there's a lot of different sides to him. He's got that secret life of a bisexual that your spouse, they're your husband, they're your father, they're your supervisor, your manager, your uncle, your dad. That's who they are. They're not, flaming faggots, man. They're guys that look just like men and everything. Sometimes the more manly they look, the more they're fag. And that's who fags are. And these guys, what they have to do, Sam Rail's another one, he's an attorney. These guys live a lie. They live a lie, whether they're married or single. These guys inflict untold harm on women because, like, Sam Rail was an attorney, young attorney, unmarried, so he was a mark for every kind of social clown and buckhead bitch in the world. He pulled a lot of good pussy, including girls that went with him for a long time. And he ruined their lives by passing for straight. They were going for a faggot and didn't know it. I used to say, I had a joke to myself about Janet, an attorney. His wife is an attorney. She graduated #1 in a law school, too, which is an accomplishment. Now, I used to have a joke. I'd say, Janet was smart enough to graduate #1 in her class in law school, but dumb enough to marry a faggot. And the reason she did is because she dressed him up in her love. Immensely attracting guy, totally well-mannered. He has the manners. I'm sure he's laughing now because I call him a psychopathic criminal with no heart, no conscience, and no moral compass. And I'm sure he's saying, yeah, look, he's talking worse than me. He's just not dangerous like me. He's just a girl. Yeah, he's a girl. I'm a stud, okay? So I do the crime that studs would do. He did the crime that girls would do, which is lying and stealing.
Did he confess this bisexuality to you or anything?
Oh, I've been around enough, man. That older woman I told you back when I left my wife, she was back in 1971. She was what they call a fag hag. She was a New York Jew. And, there's a place called Lost Lake there. And it's a day-use area only now, which is why. That's nothing but a homosexual cruising ground. That's the place that's got a lake there, several acres with a perimeter road going around it and an entrance drive. And you drive in, and there'll be guys in vehicles, single guys in vehicles spaced all around. And as you drive in, there'll be one or two of them staked out of the entrance to see who's coming in. They want to get dibs on you if you look good. So if you look good, they'll start following you, and they'll follow you around, and when you park somewhere, they'll park about 50 yards away. There's another park that was notorious, although Gwinnett County has really tightened down on them. That's Lucky Shoals Park on Britt Road, which is between Old Norcross Road and Jimmy Carter Road, and it's an extension of Singleton Road, I guess, something like that. And yeah, it's Lucky Shoals Park. You have to check it out sometime. I opened that park up. Me and Ranger did when it was built. It was being built in 1990, 91. I opened that park up, and that got so bad as a homosexual cruising ground that it had a circular drive at the end with an island of vegetation and trees in the middle, and so it would be like guys parked, all around. They've been keeping it down a little bit, and if they bug me, I tell them they don't know what they're risking, man. Gwinnett County's undercover in here. They come in here and arrest 27 people over watch hour. One time Gwinnett County did, not there, but at another part, I think it was Shorty Owl part, did a undercover, sodomy operation on lunch. Arrested 27 guys over lunch, and it showed the vehicles that they were impounding, and they were company vehicles. They were like celebrities, and just company vehicles, company trucks. I'd hate to have been them. And can you imagine that, having their family and everything soliciting for sodomy? I guess it was. I don't know if sodomy's against the law anymore. It might be now just soliciting for sex in a public park, but it was soliciting for sodomy and everything. Oh, so it's given me a huge insight, and I know what goes on in the truck parks too, because I've known prostitutes that work these big transport cities and everything. They'll just get in their car and they'll go driving around with the window open and wave to guys, and if a guy wants to talk to them, he'll flash his lights or wave at them. They'll just stop and get there's 200 semis pulled up, and that's what homosexuals do too, because a lot of these rough, tough truck drivers are gay. Did you ever see the Cops episode? The TV show Cops. I'm sure I like to watch it. It shows how police officers work. And it's very impressive. That's why I know police officers are so. That my personal encounters with them. Back in the 60s or 50s, I mean, they knocked shit out of you. I mean, they were just guys that couldn't get a good job. Basically, just goons, more or less. And of course, they were individuals.
Right.
But my hats are off to the police, the modern police, because almost uniformly, just in the smaller departments like Duluth and Chambly, do you see people that are obese and that are just not up to par. I mean, I like to say with the Chambly police, I've had my share of encounters with them too, plenty. And the Chambly police are just the type that would drive up and jump out and shoot the victim instead of the perpetrator. Really. One time I had a panhandler chasing me, and I flagged down because I told him, get lost, go away. He was in Chambly, and he'd come from downtown, from Martin, come up there in front of the Walgreens and everything. And I always had my bat with me. I won't get out, as I said to that Cherokee officer, I take it in everywhere but banks and government buildings like post office. I carry it everywhere, or did. Anyway, I had my bat in my hand, actually. I told him, get lost, get the fuck out. And he started giving me a bunch of shit. And he started coming after me, and I saw a Chambly police drive by. I flagged him down, and he started going, what are you doing with that? You can't carry that. And then, here I am, a guy chasing me, running for my life, and now he's chewing my ass out. So, really, they're just the kind of guy that would drive up and shoot the victim instead of the perpetrator. They are. They're sorry. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is, with notable exceptions like that, most larger metropolitan departments, the police, DeKalb North, great. I've run across a couple of bad officers. Gwinnett County, South, man, I swear, it seems that half of their officers probably have psychology degrees. They're good. They're really good. And these are the dudes that chase and fight and shoot too. You know. What was it? DeKalb County in that period of time killed 12 people in about 15 months. And guess what? And shot a lot of other ones. And, they had a big fury, and they had the blue ribbon panel investigated all, including the Baptist ministers, the whole works. And every shooting was justified. They were all good shootings. None of them were bad shootings. So these are the same dudes that fight, chase, and shoot, but yet can be professional and arrive at the truth of the situation. That's what saved me every damn time, is that it was a professional police officer, And I'm doing it the right way. And so they called the police. They told the police a bunch of lies. This is DeKalb North. I fled and called the police and told them where I was at another parking lot. I called in. I just wanted to get away from them, not be in the vicinity while the police were coming. So the police came to me, took my stick. He said, first thing he says, where's the stick? Right here. Okay. Took my story. Then another unit arrived. He sat on me. And while the first guy that took my stick went around and got their story, they told him their pack of lies. That DeKalb North officer came back around, got out, opened the back door of his car. I thought, damn, is he going to put me in that? He got my stick out, gave me my stick back, and he said, I told those people that you have a right to carry this stick, and you have a right to defend yourself if they feel, that you feel you're afraid of their dog. And I guess he left it unsaid that he told them that what the guy had done is just committed an assault on me, is what he did. He's forcing me to flee. So that's how good police officers are. They every time, of all those 30 times, every time they have arrived at the truth in that I did not act unlawfully. They may not be aware that they know the whole story. Every single time. And that just reflects so good on them, because these people lie. I told them, dogs confronted me, put me in fear, discharged my pepper twice. So he understood. That's what I mean. They can understand when they're talking to a pro. Most police officers are pros, and they can understand when they're talking to a pro rather than just a civilian, But that's an example of how the police have the quality of the police work, is that she was mad enough to wait for over an hour, have the police there when I got back, tell him a pack of lies, and he was able to rapidly arrive at the truth of the matter.
Back on point for just a little bit, the from 97 until 2007, I guess, you worked for, correct? And during that time, what kind of marketing did you do, or what kind of telephone solicitation did you do with that?
Oh, sighting, residential re-sighting.
Residential sighting?
Yeah.
How did you pick your people out when you're doing telemarketing? Do you look at the phone?
No, it was a process. It was an education. I just got into obtaining sighting leads when I went to work for. I had a job for one other company and been trained. That was a Dixie Home Crafters, Superior Sighting and Windows. Same guy owns both of them. How about one more coffee if there's any more in there? What it got down to. I thought to myself, hold on, $900. I can find him $900 in savings. I can have a special sale going on to save $900.
Mm-hmm.
This amount is moot, don't matter anymore. And once I came to that conclusion, I started doing what everyone else was not doing. I started going after it, systematically telesurveying and identifying the subdivisions, starting out with the Lawrenceville zip code, 303, 43, 44, 45. I mean, that's the home of defective sighting,
Mm-hmm.
That's 40, 50,000 houses in those zip codes with defective sighting. I got a map, and I started going and identifying each subdivision, what kind of siding it had, identifying the subdivisions with defective siding, and then systematically telemarketing those subdivisions using a street directory, a crisscross street directory.
Mm-hmm.
And then it got on, I did leaflets for several years too, which did not look like a leaflet. It looked like a note off a notepad. I would hand letter it. Please call me if you've ever thought about vinyl siding and hardy plank siding. I promise to give you the best price you'll ever see. Name brands, quality work. Call me, please, day or night. Mac, that's where I come up with Mac.
Mac.
Yeah, so it's straight, you know,
Right.
the side and go. It looked like it was a note,
Mhm.
quarter page, rather than a leaf. It was reproduced, but it was
Right.
in my hand lettering.
Right.
And it looked like someone left them a note. They go right up to it. I'd have candy, super candy, etc. And then I would transcribe that onto a legal pad. It was a time-consuming process, but once you had this, then you could work them for years until they got their home recited. I would transcribe the addresses onto a legal pad, and then leave a space and go to the street directory and look up that street in the street directory and get their name and number. And there's your list. There's a list of people that need it and have to have it. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. And it works good. It works good. It works. Hey, and here's the approach, though, because you already know they need it.
How did you come across that kind of stuff?
Quality is a necessity.
Right, right. I agree with you 100% on that.
So what I came out of my years on 11th Street there. I had the 3 phones, and I had some good years there. I was drinking,
Right.
but I was successful in hiring new crews of people. When
Right.
I say crew, 2 people,
Right.
4 times a year. So I came out money ahead on that. And so one of the reasons though I did it is that in the early 90s, I started wanting to be a guide at an outfitter. And so I started accumulating, buying. I had a North Face rep. At the time, North Face that's the really high end.
Right.
And Lucy had some of those mountain lights. Those are good jackets.
I got 3 of them.
Yeah.
Right.
I got 2 in medium and 1 in large.
Those are good jackets.
Did you see, I got 4 North Face bags.
Yeah,
2 of them are,
meow and
well actually 3 of them are cast meow. 1 has a thermostat lining in it, it's a later, and a snowshoe.
and the snowshoes are nice. I got a snowshoe. That looks
Yeah, it's a
good.
+5, yeah. 2 of them North Face. And he would send his guys out to the different stores. This is even before REI opened. And well, a lot of these stores didn't exist after REI opened. You know, you had a lot of them around town until REI opened. And so they would go out and demonstrate Gore-Tex and show people actual samples of Gore-Tex. And
3-ply, 4-ply, all that.
2-layer and 3-layer, yeah, and 1 layer, and so forth. So I met one of these guys doing it, and I bought some stuff off of him. I bought a Bigfoot, -5 degree bag, yeah. I bought a Bigfoot from him and some other stuff, and got to know him. And he was coming up with North Face stuff that was heavily discounted. At the time, North Face was having in their clothing of this era, North Face was having a quality control problem, big time in their clothing.
That's when they were stepped up and started mass producing.
Big time. I got a jacket from him one time, a Mountain Light jacket, that, Mountain Light, eventually $335, yeah. I don't know what they cost now. Because I got a Mountain Light jacket from him one time. You know, they have the North Face label right inside there.
Right.
On
Yeah.
top.
Right.
The North Face with a Cascade.
Yeah.
Oh no, it was sewn in upside down.
Wow.
The North Face the label was sewn in upside down.
So like showroom rejects or something like that.
I have a feeling that's what it was.
What's this guy's name? That you,
This is over 10 years ago.
well, I mean, you had some new nice
That was the
stuff.
new model.
Oh,
of
no,
the,
no.
Mountain Light, the
No.
green one.
No.
What about the jackets?
All that stuff is going on 15 years old.
The
Well,
jackets and stuff?
Yes. I don't wear it that much.
Oh,
The
okay.
good ones.
Okay.
No, if you got plenty of it, it doesn't wear.
Right.
Oh, I don't have a piece of equipment except for socks. I don't have in water bottles. I don't have a single piece of equipment that's newer than 13 years. Nothing. No clothing. Nothing. Nothing.
So what did you have
I'm
going
telling
on
you,
there?
that stuff lasts forever. The thing that'll kill it faster than anything is sun. Now, all of my microfiber pants, the newest any of those are is 94, and some go back to 90. I tended to save those for town use rather than field use. You know what I mean? And there's two reasons for that. Is of course it has the cachet, the stratospheric prices, you know, with the logo. Yuppies love that. You see them walking around with their Denali. So
A Denali that's never been in the woods type thing?
Yeah, exactly. And another reason though is that even though it's worth it, your North Face Mountain Light jackets will be almost a full half-pound heavier than an REI.
Right.
Switchback parka, for
Yeah.
instance. Okay.
They're two-ply, I think, and then aren't the mountain
No, they're
three-ply?
No, these are called layers. And no, you've got 1 layer, 2 layer, and 3 layer. Okay. 1 layer is where the Gore-Tex is bonded right to the outer nylon.
Mm-hmm.
It may be lined, and it usually is, but it's called 1 layer. Okay. 2 layer is where the Gore-Tex is not bonded to the outer one. So you have 1, 2, and then you have a net inside of it, which is a 3rd layer. It's not counted as a layer. That's 2 layer. Okay. 3 layer is where you have the outer, a net, mesh, or not. And then if you have a full lining inside of it, a cloth lining of a taffeta type, silky type, usually polyester taffeta, that's 3 layer. Okay. But anyway, to make a long story short, another reason I didn't field use my mountain lights very much is that you'll find an REI parka, you'll find a highly technical REI parka, which is, I think it's called a switchback. It's got full zips here, it's got a detachable hood, beautiful thing. Weigh-ins. You'll find that it weighs about 15 or 14 ounces. Weighs a mountain light. It's 1.5 pounds. Now, you get it's worth it. It's worth it for expeditionary use. Okay,
Right, for the short term.
It is, but just for like a day hike, and you know, very little of my stuff is really multi-day trips. It's mostly power hiking on day hikes. I don't like to carry backpacking loads. I told you, it's injurious. You injure yourself.
Injuries and...
Oh yeah, you mess yourself up, man. You do. You get big toes out of joint, knees, and so that's really the thing. It's just a 1/2 pound is significant. Backpackers have a saying, ounces count. Well, that's not quite true. But 1/4 pounds and 1/2 pound, they start counting. Ounces don't count. Ounces don't count in that you can carry 16 things that weigh an ounce that you don't really need, and it's only 1 pound. 16 of them. I've got a technical walking system just like I have a stick fighting system.
Right.
And really teaching them that rather than guiding them per se.
Right.
And outfitting them with the good stuff.
Right.
Okay? And so I bought out a hiking club, or a guy that said he had a hiking club. It had been in storage. He said it was an industry-sponsored hiking club. This was in the early 90s. That didn't go nowhere, and he said it's really because he didn't put any time, and it was supposed to be to educate people in the equipment and create demand.
Right.
Okay. So I bought that out, and I just bought a lot of stuff on my own too,
Right.
for me also. And I use both medium and large also. So I had to come up with some small, and I had extra backpacks too, also, which I just threw away. I actually had those. I just threw them away when I left Taylor's.
Goddard also said that you had a telemarketing thing that primarily you liked talking with hairdressers about. Is that?
No. Back in the days when I was running my fraud, unlawful charity.
Right.
And by the way, that's what I fell on in '95.
Right.
It was a charge of unlawful therapy and also a theft charge that wasn't related to that at all. Okay, they would set a budget up. Your typical small business owner would once
tax write-off for them. Pretty much.
Yeah, they'd set up. I'm going to give away $2,000 this year, $3,000, and they'd give it away first come first served. And when the budget was gone, you couldn't get it if it wasn't. Yeah, you couldn't. You couldn't because they'd tell you why. I've had 200 people call me, and I've given away $3,000, about $10 a piece. You know, okay, and you couldn't get it. If you did, you did, and that's the way it was. And so that's where that beauty shop comes from.
So they're working on Saturday, and that's primarily...
That's their day. That's when the owner is going to be there. That's the busiest time of the week on any beauty shop. It's Saturday morning.
Do they tend to give up good money as far
Yes,
as all
yes.
women in there? And
Yes, what?
women tend to give the money up a little bit easier
No,
sometimes. You
not
play
at
on
all.
the heartstrings.
Not at all.
Not at all.
Not at all. I'm going to tell you something. You take it from me.
Really?
No, you know what you're being fooled by? You're all being fooled. You're being fooled by a woman's instinct, not her free will. Her instinct is that of nurturing.
Mm-hmm.
That's because instinctually she raises the kids. And you're being fooled by her nurturing instinct, and she has a soft spot for kids and small furry animals. But I'm going to tell you something. You take it to the bank, pal, and you take it from a guy that begged professionally for over 20 years. The sex that is the most... My God, when the American Indians, the woodland Indians, and the Iroquois and so forth in the northeast U.S., they'd bring a captive back to torture. You know, it was like they were inflicting, one captive. There's a sociological, cultural reason for it I could explain to you, but just let me say. When they'd bring a captive back to torture him to death, you know who did the torturing?
No one.
Yeah, they'd come out with their hot coals and their sharp sticks, okay? You know who the ones that are, you send them to war. You may think, oh, my son, my son had to go to war. Well, I'll tell you, I've seen it on video more than one World War II vet been over there fighting. He'd been fighting so much that he's amongst the earliest released, come back home and have women on the street saying, you ought to be over there fighting and everything. Women are what got us in this situation we're in, man. Yeah, I mean, the reason why is what do women want? The two things. They want their home and kids, and they want things, okay? Hey, do you think pottery was just invented 7,000 years ago? They always knew that clay would harden. The thing is, when they were hunters, and men were men, and men were in control, and they moved around, and they were free and not enslaved by the states, because when they settled down, the states were able to... They couldn't have things. Then the state was able to assume control by getting them in a hydraulic trap of these giant irrigation projects, which they did, dams, canals, everything. And once the state got control of the water, they had control of the people. And after that, humanity descended into degradation, slavery, pauperism, that 99% of all humans... The history of civilization is the history of 1% of the people, the elites. We don't even know what the dredges wore back in many times. Nothing. They were just dredges. They were, and they would intensify their production and try to get more and more. And the end result is no one could eat meat, and they were just eating mush, which most of the world still eats. Rice or whatever, maize, that kind of thing. And it's a story that's been repeated over and over. And what started it all? Women wanting to settle down and have things and have their kids. When they moved around, you see, they had to kill the girl babies. Female infanticide. The reason they had to kill the girl babies is you got 10 men, 10 women. Well, if you kill 9 of the men, so women wanted to have their babies and they wanted to have their homes and things. And what has happened is that the Homo sapiens women, there's some kind of mutation in the Homo sapiens women, because before, the humans before us, which is Homo erectus, okay, they had a run of almost 2 million years. And their toolkit changed very little. The tools they made and so forth changed very little over that time. Can you imagine such an immense span of time? Homo sapiens, the very first Homo sapiens skeleton that we have now found is 164,000 years old. And more typically, Homo sapiens skeletons are no older than 70, 80, 90,000 years old. And just in that short period of time, what's happened with them as opposed to Homo erectus? Homo erectus, by the way, and so did Homo sapiens, stood taller than modern men, were stronger, were in better health, and lived as long as human beings until the year 1900. In the year 1900, the average span in the U.S. was 47 years old. And that's about what Homo erectus and early Homo sapiens lived to. They were in better health. They had not picked up these horrible diseases acquired from domestic animals such as smallpox, measles. We're fucked. We're totally fucked. But hey, that's okay. Don't worry about it. Be a Republican. Have a party. Your world is kaput. Your world is over with, pal. It's gone. Your children will never You want your kids to grow up to be a lawyer? Forget about it. There is no future for your kids. There is none. The Muslims got us by the gasoline balls. Before, they had to come across oceans to get at us. And once they came across oceans, they had this huge country that even if they could get at us, they couldn't invade us and occupy it. Like I say, Russia soaked up invading armies twice. Napoleon with over 500,000 men. The Germans with the Germans with 3.5 million men. Okay, these were huge armies. Napoleon in 1812, over 500,000. Germans World War II, 3.5 million. Okay, soaked them up, just the vastness of it. They couldn't get at us. Now they don't have to. Again, I'm going to tell you, I've told you before, I'm going to tell you again. We have this huge, vast, interconnected socioeconomic structure. You're embedded in a matrix in a world that isn't real, that has been constructed totally to keep from failing. Our biggest national banks, Chase Manhattan and the big four, have had to go and sell parts of themselves for billions and billions, to overseas to stay solvent because a bunch of people didn't pay their mortgage.
Yeah.
Okay, you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Now that's child's play. That's just nothing. More coffee.
I'm on the.
I know you're trying to get out of here.
No, I'm not trying to
But
get out of here.
you see the interconnectedness of this. Now, what's going to happen when that what's going to happen if gasoline, if nothing goes bad? I told you before, I've handled atomic bombs. Okay, I was in special weapons. And I've handled atomic bombs that damn big, that weigh 79 pounds. And and that's assuming nothing like that happens.
Right.
That's assuming nobody gets weaponized anthrax and shuts down our postal system. All it would take is a few anthrax letters to shut down our postal system. Everybody's forgotten that. Okay, but if nothing bad happened, what's going to happen if gasoline goes up $1 a year for 10 years, and in 10 years it's at $13 a gallon? Son, it's going to bring you down. It's going to bring you down. It wasn't real. It just didn't look real, you know. But it's dreadful. There was no pleasure or anything else. And one may say, well, you're the one that chose to make money by killing. There's other ways to make money. There's bank robbery and so forth. Well, you know, in retrospect, I regret not attempting a bank robbery. I really do. Because all of this shit got me nowhere but caught. Okay? And so I might have been caught robbing a bank. But if I'd have scored, if I'd have got $5,000, I could live off that for over half a year in the woods, you know. And so, but as to why I chose to kill for money, part of that was rage against society, sociopathic rage against society, against all those people that are now coming forward and so forth. How'd you find Walter Goddard? He must have called you, or did you get him off my cell phone?
Well,
So,
was it that?
yeah.
Well, let me ask you this, and you know, there again, we're here to I don't know.
Okay. He only killed one person.
Yeah.
He killed two of the police officers.
The police officer.
He killed two. He only killed two people. Okay.
Well,
And they sent Kozinski there. He only killed, I think, two people. But he was a Unabomber.
right.
And he's in Supermax. So it's where they send the notorious, infamous people.
Well,
Okay, they're sending my ass to Supermax now.
Well, I mean, it's debatable on who calls you notorious and who calls you, you know, just a mad guy.
Well,
You know
what did the say? Infamous, you know, Jack the Ripper, whatever you want to put it.
Yeah.
Okay. But of course, at first they got to convict me.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know,
Number one. And if they, you know, and if they want to spend $1 million, $2 million to convict me, and then another $2 million to get death, and then another $8 million to defend the death penalty, and get around to executing me 17 years from now when I'm 78 years old and I'm decrepit and anything. Hey, they can do it.
who's going to be the one to have to?
I kid you not. They have screwed, Jude, and tattooed me every which way society has. They called the police on me 30 times when they were the transgressor, trying to get me...
people in the park type thing.
Yeah, and all of society, trying to get me in trouble. If they had their way, they would tell lies to the cop. The cop would arrest me and send me to the penitentiary, take my dog away, and ruin my life, just because they don't want to be wrong. Okay? It's as simple as that. You talk about cruel and heartless, man. And you talk about, hey, kill motherfuckers. You start getting that thing, you just rage against society.
Well, you're getting a little bit into your, more than what we're trying to discuss here.
Well, what are you trying to get at except a biography?
Well, that's basically it. I'd like to have a biography of you.
Well, you're not going to give this to the press. I'm saying
No,
I'm
absolutely.
saving this for a book, man.
Are you?
Yeah. Okay. Hey, I got to keep some money on the books.
Right. I
Okay,
understand.
I got lots to do.
I understand that.
And no one's called you up and said, hey, I got some money for Gary Hilton. I got to get some money on the books.
Right.
Okay. And my coverage, I deliberately kept coverage of me limited. You notice when they try to do the perf walk, I insist that we run. And the Debbie's fine with them,
Yeah.
I got the vest on and everything. The sooner they get me into that car, the better. Although they don't even have to get me in the car. They could walk me right through. Pictures
Right.
from 1990 on, documenting everything, all my daily lives. Nothing unlawful. Nothing unlawful. Yeah, I got it. No one has a damn picture of me. As far as I know, except mug shots, and no one has a single picture of me not under arrest. No one. Nobody. I think actually Goddard has. You have you found some? Oh yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, North Carolina has two of me that a woman took. Yeah, that a woman took in Transylvania County. Yeah. Oh, you come across some more? Well, I wouldn't be surprised because people are.
We're not.
I'm like the Lone Ranger.
We're not in this for the. I mean, you can have the book deal or whatever. We're not in it for that.
What other pictures have you come up with? Tell me. Come on, I've been telling you.
Well,
Yeah, oh, it's okay. Ask him.
what's the? No, we got some pictures of you from. Is it out west somewhere?
Yeah, I think it's
Out west,
Rainier, I think.
Mount Rainier.
Mount Rainier.
I'm gonna go to East, and she's on a Iranian steakhouse. And while he was asleep, she took pictures of him, snitched on him. And as this guy's touring each state capsule, it gets harder and harder. They were like waiting for him. They got him on the list. He was arrested several times and detained. He was refused entry. He finally had to stop it because this one woman, he had told about his project in all sincerity and truthfulness, took his picture while he was asleep on the airplane and snitched on him, okay? And so there's a woman in North Carolina at a picnic area. She drove up. She's just a piece of white trash, and her boyfriend apparently was driving it. And I think she was drunk, too. She was acting like she was drunk. She was being very forward and everything, no real inhibitions and everything. They drove up there, and she said out the window, I had, my technical clothing on, as usual. Presenting my typical spectacle, I was being the spectacle, the lone, my shtick, doing my shtick. And she said, and what is your costume supposed to be? Smarten off, basically. And I said, I'm the prophet of microfiber. But you see, it never caught on. You can't even get this stuff anymore, right?
I mean, you've been to.
I'm going to tell you something. I want to tell you something. I've never met anyone, ever, and people are full of shit on this too, but I've never met anyone, anywhere, any way that has the time in the woods and the time on the trail that I have. I've never worked full-time anyway in my life, except for the U.S. Army, and for the 6 months I went straight. I worked full-time, okay, in 79, 80. I worked 6 months. Other than that, I've never worked full-time. I've been a criminal, okay? I was a career criminal in lawful charity from 73 to 93, okay, for 20 years, okay? And so I never worked full-time. I've been a criminal. I couldn't get up and go to work every morning. And I've just been a soldier. It took me to the 90s to really realize what I was doing. I was just replicating what I did in the Army. That's all I was doing. I was doing field maneuvers. I was replicating what I did in the Army. I came to understand that I was just on perpetual field maneuvers is what I was. Hey, that's good enough. Some guys do it as a career. Nobody. And I've had the dogs, too, which means I always have a hiking companion. The poor, tortured sociopath that was trying to fit in but couldn't, that never could, and it would never be accepted anyway. I went from that to never being alone and understanding my place and purpose in life and the true nature of my personality and what my fate was, which was to be alone. I came to understand that was my fate, to be alone. That was me. And to try to be something else would be to ensure unhappiness. Okay? And that really picked up after in 91 when I started dog running, but it got going in the 80s, from 84 on. Ask Walter Goddard. He'll tell you, man, all the stuff I'd go out into the Oconee National Forest every weekend and just, even around here in Gwinnett County, it wasn't developed like it is now in 84. Oh my God, man, huge tracts of woods along the Yellow River and so forth. They're all subdivisions now, but you could just go hiking in Gwinnett County. Hell, they had a deer season in Gwinnett County, then. A gun season, okay, in like as late as 83, they had a gun season, and I knew a contractor, he's a cement slab contractor, and he'd just, while the crews were pouring the thing, he'd take his gun in hunting season, and they carry the things, and they look, for the newsroom, hey son, if they want to grieve, what about, if they want to grieve, 35,000 people a year get shredded, maimed, and beaten to death in car wrecks, okay? What I'm talking about is a virtual grief. You're
saying it's like the support the troops sticker on the back of your toy?
Yeah, it's a virtual thing, okay? And so everyone, virtually, is a style, they're talking the talk and they're not walking the walk. And they're styling. And that's why you see
posers.
That's my word. Perfectly precious posers. That's what yuppies are. They talk instead of do. They pose instead of act. Because they're perfectly precious. Right? Okay. I really started seeing that phenomenon in the last 80s. I go out to Piedmont Park and everyone standing around perfectly precious and posing. They have these flat affects. They won't talk to you because they're afraid to. The yuppies work on the philosophy is it's better to not say anything and let them think you're a fool than say something and have them know you're a fool.
Everything old is new again.
Oh man, it's a uniform. No one,
Well, what's the attitude you take to that professionalism as far as your gear, or is it just extended to hiking, that sort of thing, or
No.
lifestyle? What?
Yeah, I tend to try to systematize everything and break it down to.
You're saying discipline and
No, understanding. Whatever activity you do, just like a police officer does, he just learns. Everything for a police officer, every kind of situation, everything is systematized for him, and he does it by the numbers.
like the military.
Yeah. And except the police officer's training he's exposed to is just awesome. It's so varied. Many of them do. They're taught every kind of situation. The don't shoot training that police officers do these days, they use their own service weapons in actual sets, constructed bank lobbies or parking lots. Oh yeah, it's all systematized. Even my walking is systematized. I have a block of instruction I can give you on how to walk. If I was teaching someone, listen, if I'm teaching someone about backpacking, I'm going to teach them how to hike. I'm going to teach them how to walk. I'm going to teach them how to get dressed, and I'm going to teach them how to piss. Okay? You'd be surprised how easy it is if your pissing is to piss on your equipment. Your clothes or your equipment. You got
Especially with layers.
I'm going to teach you how to take a shit. Okay? Right? It's all systematized. Yeah.
As far as systems, like when you're, planning to summit a mountain or whatever, do you come up with contingency plans as far as, if I don't make it by this certain time, then I'm going to go down to base camp 1, that type of thing?
And you do, for purposes of equipment, you do worst case scenario planning. In other words, what if I fall and break a femur? Boom. And I'm cross country. What if, here's the complicating thing, what if the dog goes down? But when you get desperate, you ignore it. In other words, when you're going out to kill somebody, if you're seen by a single other person on the trail, then that day's screwed. But when you procrastinate because you don't want to get up and kill someone, and you let it go and you say, I won't kill anyone today. We'll just go hiking with my dog, have fun. We're doomed anyway. And so you get down to the point where, well, like Meredith, I had $40 money and several days food. I was going to have to kill somebody in that period of time. Okay? And when you get down to the bitter end, you ignore all the rules you set, which I did, which got me caught.
Straight outside of your own criteria for...
In other words, on Blood Mountain, it's a good place to hunt because it's the most used day hiking trail in the state of Georgia. And this is a 3.5 mile hike up, 1,400 foot climb, and return. So it's a 7-mile walk with 1,400 foot of elevation gain. And I'm amazed at the number of people that do it, but they're able to do it because they're not carrying anything. They're carrying what they're supposed to. I've seen people in that bitter weather that Meredith was taken in, 11 degrees at night. I saw the day before going up as I was coming down, the sun setting behind the shoulder of Blood, and going up, 3 boys going up not carrying a single thing, and one of them wearing shorts. It's insanity. They're betting their life, literally, that they don't stumble and hurt themselves. Actually, and it's amazing not more people get in serious trouble up there. It does happen up there, but it's amazing. But see, but anyway, it's a good place to hunt in that you have a huge selection. But it's a bad place to hunt in that you
because they have a lot of people.
So the way you would do it,
witnesses.
So the way you would do it would be to lurk in a blind, so to speak, off the trail, observe with binoculars, and lurk. But I didn't do that either because I like to hike. So a bunch of people saw me, and then it was a mistake to pick Meredith. Yeah, because as you said, she almost whipped my ass. You said, didn't you say, I bet that 120-pound girl almost whipped your ass? She almost whipped my ass.
Amen.
She damn sure did. I lost control of both of them, both the knife and the bat. Showed her the knife, grabbed the bayonet, and somehow I lost control of the bayonet and lost it, period, and it went down. I pulled the bat, deployed it, grabbed that. I mean, it was not my finest hour. It was not I mean, I'm better than that. I am, but I found out she was a fucking black belt, too, which don't mean shit. Again, they're styling these black belts. They're styling. They're not fighters. They're learning to do some little. But on the other hand, doing that kind of thing does increase your coordination, your hand-eye, etc., and it gets you more used to hand-to-hand combat as opposed to an untrained person, even though they're not really fighters. And she didn't do no shit. It's just that she was real quick with her hands and had no hesitation about grabbing weapons and everything. And not only that, she was hard to subdue. And fought like hell, man. Fought, and then once I gained control over her and got her 10 to 15 feet away from the trail on that little side trail I told you about, she started fighting again. And I had to fight her again for several minutes. And her doing that is what got me caught, because if I'd been back to the crime scene and flip him off the trail and roll all the way down the mountainside to 15, 20 feet, him come up on top of me and still have my shit together and be ready to bam, that's what I call the extended fist. You have kinetic strokes and you have power strokes or muscle strokes, and the extended fist technique is, here's the bat right there. And I use the bat like you're supposed to use it. A lot of police departments hold the bat like that. In other words, a lot of police departments teach you on a 36-inch bat, riot control, they teach you to have the strong hand down, but you have the strong hand up, like this. Yeah, you have the strong hand up. And that way you can use the extended fist technique, which the tip of the bayonet is the stick is there. And so what that is this tip of the stick is a extra long and extra hard extension of your fist. Bam! It's awesome. It's devastating. Not only is it very quick acceleration, That's for close-in work, okay? For at-a-distance work, it's going to be a kinetic stroke. Kinetic means moving, and it's kinetic energy. And in other words, the energy you're imparting into the hit is the energy of something moving. In other words, it's mass times speed equals force, okay, so 1 of them squared. So you visualize the tip of your stick as a projectile. Planning, training, and equipment. The planning is doing scenarios. What if two guys and another guy comes this way? What if the guy does that? What if? What if? Planning.
And you rehearse it.
And then training, rehearsing. You do your scenarios, and equipment, of course.
Well taken care of.
Which would translate to weapons, you know. You call it weapons. And that's how police officers win fights: planning, training, and equipment. You know, that's how, you know, little schmuck police officers can whip ass, because they planned, they trained, they are equipped. But Meredith about got the best of me there. Yeah, she did. Oh, but to ask you a question, once she goes over the edge, I got her around to the tree, and she said, no, don't, but she wasn't yelling anymore. I said, now, honey, don't worry, listen, I just got to go back, I'll be right here, listen to me. And I said, and also the first thing I said is, where's your debit card, credit card? In the car, and say, what's the PIN number? 1224. Okay, look, honey, look. I got your credit card, I got your PIN number, it's gonna hurt you, I'll be back just a second. Just take it. And she just calmed right down. And from then on, and I was gonna shoot her ass down, and, you know, she took off running or something. You know, because, you gotta do that, because most girls could probably outrun me. You know, not that fast. And after that, from then on, she totally cooperated. We traversed the Blood Mountain through the stick stuff, down through the drainage, up, and she was totally cooperative with me and everything else. And it was all the way through. And as time went on, she got more and more cooperative. The last morning, again, I told you that tank truck got stalled and blocked the road, or stuck and blocked the road. And he said he was calling for help, and I said, honey, look, we got to get out of here. This guy's calling for help. Come on, just start throwing stuff in. Don't worry. Because she by then knew the procedure for packing and unpacking the van. And she would help me, you know, and how we would do it, and, you know, et cetera, what went where. She knew it all. And she would help me. But I said, hey, no, just grab it and throw it in. Grab it. And she just, man, was really going crazy. But I want to tell you, though, but, you know, the advice to people if they're abducted is to engage your abductor and to make yourself a person to them and not have them think of you as an object. To engage them, to tell them your name. She never once told me, hey, my name is Meredith. I mean, that's what I'd be doing. I'd be pitching a guy like hell. They don't even pitch me. Like, really, I won't say a word, you know, just, you know, I'd be saying, hey, listen, no sweat, listen, I'll tell them you had me blindfolded all the time. I didn't even see nothing. I don't know a thing. I had no good. Hey, I'm not even going to report this. Hey, just cut me loose, you know, cut me loose as soon as you can. If I can get back for big alarms raised, I'll never even report. I'd be pitching the whole damn time. I'd be bending. If I was abducted, I'd be bending their fucking ear. You know, engaging them and making them think of me as establishing a relationship.
You kind of expected that, but never got it.
You're right. It's amazing. It's totally fucking amazing. It was me. I did form a relationship, but that was because of me. Because
You're reaching out.
Reaching out to them, and it gets their cooperation, because now you're making yourself a person to them. Instead of an inhuman monster, you're making them see as it's just a guy who maybe got a screw loose, but nevertheless just a guy who's rational sounding. You know, the act wasn't rational, but my actions otherwise and who I have got, rather than just a faceless person you're going to kill.
There's nothing else, something interesting, right?
Yeah. And it's not to say my mind could not have been changed with the right kind of people, but I don't know. You know, I have a Rage Against Society, and I guess most people would fit the bill as far as the victim goes. Yeah, actually. Again, I'm remorseful over Meredith, because just for the fact that, if nothing else, she drove a Chevy Cavalier. I can't tell you how much I respect that.
Why is that?
Why yelp he's going to drive a little cheap white Chevy Cavalier? My God, you can get a
No brand name is what you're saying.
no Acura,
Nothing.
no Beamer,
BMW.
no Sub, okay? You can get a 2 or 3 year Cavalier off rental or off leash for $4,000. I mean, a new, you can get you look in the fucking Blue Book, okay? You can get a new Cavalier for $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, man. Jesus Christ. And the fact that that girl drove a Chevy Cavalier, I asked her why. She told me sensible reasons and everything. I respected her to no end for that.
Yeah.
She didn't have a brain in her head, but hey, neither do you either. And hey, what the hell? No one does.
Yeah.
And she was so optimistic, enthusiastic about it, even though she didn't, wasn't passionate about the job. She sold boxes, for Pete's sake. But she was happy in it in that she felt she was progressing, building her resume. As Meredith said, she said, if I can succeed in selling boxes, then it's going to show the next higher level that, I can go out and do it. If I can go out and sell boxes.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of thing. She was happy in that. She wasn't, anyone else would be up to, bitching about it. No, she was happy to have the job. She was happy to do it. She did it. She was doing good at it. And sure, her life was just stupid, but the thing is, it was full, and she was happy at it. She wasn't dissatisfied. You see, the human condition is to be dissatisfied. That's why we had to settle down and have things and get more and more and more and more. And it's especially the women that are dissatisfied. My God, man, you're having to buy furniture every few years. You're having to buy carpets. They're never fucking happy. And every few years you got to get a bigger house, okay? They are never satisfied. But it's really the human condition is to be dissatisfied. That's why we're at where we're at. I like to use the saying of, well, we wanted to have something to drink, we invented whiskey. Then we wanted a cold drink, we have to invent the refrigerator. We're never, keep them down where they belong, keep them wage slaves. Pretended he was giving me a cut of the pie, but he was stealing half of it. Yeah, so at any rate, the point is, so the last check Tabor gave me, he left it, and on the envelope it had ransom written on it.
What did he mean by that?
He meant that he was being extorted and he was giving it to me under duress. Okay. And then he left me a letter saying I was threatening him and I was doing this tough guy act. That's what pissed me off. I was saying act. Act? It's not an act, dude. Jesus. No. But here's the thing. In my mind, if someone gives you money, and regardless of what you said to them, if someone gives you money and they're saying they're doing it under duress for fear, and you, by putting a letter in it saying that they're being threatened, and you take that check and cash it, well, that is extortion in my mind, isn't it? I mean,
I can see your point, yeah.
That's prima facie evidence of extortion.
Right.
If they can document it, have witnesses, the envelope had ransom written on it, like, ransom for your life, I guess. I'm holding your life, and And if they're saying to me they're giving it to me under duress and because they feel threatened, and I take it, then that's extortion, isn't it?
Yeah.
Could be construed to be.
Right.
Certainly could.
Right.
And they document it.
By the latest person on the jury, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. No, I think under the law, too.
Right.
Actually.
Well, what exactly,
What the fuck was in his mind trying to lure me? That you think you're going to rescue the girl that way?
Well,
Like I'm going to bring the girl there, especially when they're bracing. Yeah, what the fuck was going through his mind? You tell. If he had just told me, and it makes sense, it's intuitive. If he had told me, Gary, they know it's you, they're looking for you, and if you got that girl, just like you told me, the first thing you said to me is, Gary, if there's any way that girl's still alive, please, or word to that effect, you said, please tell us. See, you were exploring that possibility right from the get-go. Now, he's too busy being a yuppie, smart-ass girl, okay, and trying to lay his coy little trap, and I told him, well, I couldn't pick it up that night or the next day, but I might be there the next day, okay, because I was to my fucking wits end, the girl was still fucking alive, man, I still had that. The last message I left to him, I was telling him, you're working an agenda that's not working for either of us. It's not working for me because I'm not getting paid. It's not working for you because it's not going to happen. And that is, I will never unlawfully threaten you. I said, now, I can understand there's two reasons why you might think you could goad me into unlawfully threaten you. One is that if you had done to anyone what you've done to me, they would be so mad and so outraged that they may well utter an unlawful threat. Secondly is the fact that, well, I'm a stud, and the training I received and the fighting I've done is a matter of public record. The training I received is a matter of public record, and the police have been called on me 30 times. The fighting I've done is a matter of public record. But you're forgetting something. In all those instances, I acted lawfully. I keep my actions lawful. You know, he's done spray out. Man, Tabor's a stroking dude, man. I mean, he's tall and good looking, and he handles himself beautifully. He's so impeccably mannered. Of course, they pose, and they're precious, and that's the way they do it. And so I can understand his wife being blinded by that for several years. But again, she's an attorney. She was first in her class. She's not stupid, you know. So I feel sure that she...
Did he ever, like, come on to you or anything of that
Oh,
nature?
no, not at all.
Or,
Not
like,
at all.
share an experience with you? or
Never.
anything?
No.
Talk about what I did Friday night? Or?
Until recently in our relationship, I would never have broached it at all. But he could
Out of
tell...
politeness or just out of...
No, because if you're friends with a faggot, it becomes accepted, an open thing between you that you're... No, I've always known that for many years that I knew, because he knows me better than anyone, and he understands how sophisticated I am. By sophisticated, I mean a sophisticated person understands what they're seeing and sees almost everything. That's what I mean by sophistication. Okay. In other words, I've been to New York City. Okay. So I'm an extremely sophisticated guy. You know, and the only reason I'm not rich is because I'm crazy.
Well, there's downsides to everything.
Yeah.
I mean...
Hey, you know, I wouldn't, in a sense, it sounds weird, but even at this point, I wouldn't trade it for being the average cognizant schmuck that's going and plodding along, doing a job, career, family, going to church. The dentist would be wearing a lab coat, that white right there, right? If you went to a dentist and said, Doc, I want you to make my teeth as white as your lab coat there, the doc would say, well, I'll do it, but don't tell anyone it was me that did it, because it looks so unnatural. You know what I mean? Now, everybody's that way. They're grinning fucking idiots. I call it a dental display, is what I call it. It's like chimpanzees and other apes, they do a genital display. You ever see a chimpanzee in a zoo look like that? That's a genital display. Well, they do a dental, display. That's why I love my teeth. These are both artistic, philosophical statements, and they're practical too. If someone's fucking with me, I'll go, you're pretty. Like that. It scares the shit out of any damn dude, but they know I'm for fucking real. I ain't no guppy. See,
poser.
I ain't posing, bitch. These are I got my fighting teeth in, bitch.
Well,
Can I help you? How you want to help me?
The
reason I didn't get a ticket is because I didn't break the law.
So you kept a legitimate job in business.
And I did 5 years probation from 95 to 2000.
Right.
Okay. And the only things I did unlawful was smoke marijuana from morning to night, all I could get. I never dealt it.
Right.
Just smoked it. And I didn't file my income tax.
A lot of people said you were an avid marijuana user, and I used to work narcotics, and
Morning to night.
I looked in your van, and there's no evidence of that in your van.
I had run out 2 days before.
Well, let me ask you this: you had the Mazda pickup truck at that until what time?
Mazda pickup truck until 2000.
Until 2000, at which time you got the 86 or 80?
96.
96. What?
Astro.
Astrolane.
And then I got this current Astro 2001 in 2005.
2005. Okay. And you didn't have any vehicles in between that time? The reason I'm asking this is,
Over the decal of the year, but it was actually affixed to it by wire, but it looked like, I even had it artistically, so it just looked like it was dangling, but it wasn't. It was affixed by
It was
wire.
actually affixed to it.
By wire, yeah, they covered it, and I drove that for a year. with expired tags, and if I see a police officer behind me, if I could pull into somewhere without, police officers got ESP as to when someone's avoiding them. If they see you pull into someone, they know that you're avoiding them. But so I was cognizant of that. Cops are dumb. They don't have to be brain surgeons, but they're not dumb either. They're professional.
Well, let me ask you this. I know that you're an avid gun lover also.
Mm-hmm.
You're pretty proficient with a firearm.
Yeah.
All right.
You saw my records. No, the FBI's got my Army file. Do you have my Army file?
No.
You got me. And that thing you can just hide, but yet it's extremely lethal. It puts out generally about 300 foot-pounds of energy. It's right in the 38 special range. It's as powerful as a 38 special.
Mm-hmm.
And in other words, enough to do the job. All of your small guns generally. Anything under that is not powerful enough, and that includes your 32 auto, your 25 auto. 25 auto, as opposed to 300 foot-pounds for a 22 mag, well, the 25 auto develops all of 62 foot-pounds. You can take and I've done it, you can take a 25 auto, put it right up against the laminated glass, bam, shoot right into it, and it'll catch the bullet. It won't even go through it.
Yeah, 25s aren't.
But of course, the 25 probably kills more people
because
than any
other.
Because African Americans get them for nothing.
Right.
And if it hits you in the heart, I know a girl whose father carried a 25 auto. As he was getting out of the car, it fell and hit the curb and discharged and hit him in the heart and killed him. So, but nevertheless, it's not enough to do the job.
Right. 9?
Yeah,
17,
A qualified expert on the pistol, which was the 45 auto.
No, 1911.
Yeah, in
I figured you'd
1911.
be a 45 man myself, but.
Oh yeah. As a matter of fact, it's just again the firepower of the Glock, the 17 rounds, and the 45 is 7 rounds. You see, but no, the police officers are coming to the conclusion that 9mm aren't powerful enough. So you see them go to the 40 caliber.
Yeah.
And 45, that 9s aren't enough.
So you don't like 9s, or?
The magazine capacity is fabulous. Fabulous.
What about a 40? Never messed with it.
I don't even know the ballistics of the 40, actually.
Glock scares me sometimes. I mean, I'm not really a Glock man. I was always a...
I've never used one, but just based on its reputation and the magazine capacity of 17 rounds, let me tell you, man, if you're good with that and you have the thing, if you know where the gun is shooting, let me put it that way, you're a little more protecting you. You got your lung protecting your heart. In other words, yeah, we would do it this way, right? And I never saw the two-handed stance used until the late 70s on the cop shows and everything. I think it's kind of stupid, really, in a way. I actually do. Although for coming around corners, maybe you can get on point just a little bit quicker. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But I don't like plastic guns.
I just always prefer something with a safe.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah.
What else we need?
Your thing was kind of like you were talking about.
It sunk in
over time.
It sunk in over time. But half of his sales are delayed sales or go back. Can't close. We're talking even at his giveaway cheap price.
I take it that was his responsibility as far as you
To
acquired
sell,
sales.
yeah, set the lead. He went and sold them. You can't. And what I mean by selling? Inducing urgency. So,
Sure.
yeah, this is what my sales are, the way I approach siding. I lie to the customer, but I never lie about things that materially affect the terms and conditions of the job.
You set the
What I lie about is only one thing, and that is to get them
urgency.
to get them to buy from me now. And how do I lie? There's a million lies. Oh, you know something? For the 5th year in a row from the James Hardy Corporation, he won the Golden Hammer Award. Yeah, and every quarter, he's in the winner's circle also. Yeah, this is by post-installation surveys that the James Hardy Corporation will send you. They'll send you one after we do your job, and it's based on customer satisfaction. And it's a way to think of how many jobs you do versus your percentile of customer satisfaction. But it doesn't materially affect the terms and conditions of the job or anything else. It's simply to get them to buy from me now, you see.
Mhm.
It could be as simple as something like, business is real slow, which half the time is not untrue. Business is real slow. Every time we get a job in this particular subdivision, which is true, we've done 22 jobs in this subdivision. Every time we get a job in this subdivision, we got a real good chance of getting another job from one of your neighbors right off that sign we're going to put in your yard. If you'll let us keep it there for 30 days, please, after we finish the job. We got a real good chance of getting another job in the subdivision because our work is all over. If people want to understand what kind of work we do, there's plenty of examples of it right outside their door. We may have a job across the street from you. You know, it takes 10,000 jobs. And so for that reason, work is slow. Well, rather than send the crews home, I'd rather them be busy putting siding on your house and just earning their paycheck and taking care of the materials. So yeah, somebody's own testimony, over 50% or more of his jobs are go-back. And it started sinking in over the last year. Again, you wonder how I can be so stupid. The reason is I trusted him, okay? When you trust someone, you dim your awareness. You lose your...
Put him on post.
Okay. Yeah. And it dawned on me that 10 years had never paid me for one. And I answered the question myself. I said, of course not. It was too easy and too much fun. I told him. So yeah, we had this realization, but I really didn't want to be accusatory to him, so I tried to kind of, and along the same as the threats, rather than a naked threat or a naked accusation, I tried to, the same way as I made him aware of my cognizance of his homosexuality. I kind of let it sink in that still going to deny it. He's going to deny it till always, never, ever, admit it, right? And so that's why I wasn't accusatory to him, because once you do that, then he's going to feel compelled to deny it, then you have a debate and an argument. I tried to couch it in terms that, hey, the realization is there, it's a done deal. Good, I'm not all bad, pal, I'm just
Let me hook you up
Okay,
here
good.
so these guys don't freak out. Or
Oh, no, I understand. Hey, you got to get used to it, pal.
Yeah.
Listen, there's no way I can make it on the outside. I've told you before, I'd have to turn right around, walk back in here. I'd have no place to go, nothing to do. I'm feeling real good now, multiple sclerosis, because I'm laying in bed, just laying and reading
Were you getting your
and
rest?
keeping it warm. Yes, I'm laying flat on my back. I walk about a mile and a half in my little cell quite often. But other than that, and attorney's visits and so forth, other than that, I'm laying prone.
In Georgia, he pleaded guilty and was sentenced to life with parole possible after 30 years. 2 months before Meredith Emerson, a woman named Cheryl Dunlap disappeared from a geological area in Leon County, Florida. She was 46. Her body was found a fortnight later in the Apalachicola National Forest. A Leon County grand jury indicted him in February 2008. He pleaded not guilty, went to trial 3 years later, and was convicted. On the 21st of February, 2011, the jury recommended death, unanimously. The trial court found 6 aggravating factors. In 2013, the Florida Supreme Court affirmed both the conviction and the sentence. In North Carolina, he later admitted killing John and Irene Bryant, 80 and 84, who went walking in a national forest in October 2007. He received a further life sentence without parole. He has been named as a suspect in other deaths. He was never charged with them, and we are not going to treat a suspicion as a finding. We could obtain the Florida appellate opinion and almost nothing else. No Georgia docket, no North Carolina file. The date of his Georgia plea, the fact that makes this tape a post-plea interview rather than an interrogation, rests on secondary reporting, not on a court record. So take that framing as strongly indicated, not proven. The University of Georgia set up a fund in her name for a student each year to study in a French-speaking country. That is the thing she was best at, and it is still going. Her mother said one sentence at the sentencing that is never needed adding to, "I feel he should stay alive and slowly rot." If this is the kind of case you want handled properly, sourced, with the gaps named out loud and the victims left their dignity, subscribing means you'll see the next one.